All right, on this week's episode of the Triathlon Weekly News Roundup, we take a look at what the PTO said in response to its changes we talked about last week. We also see that Jan Frodeno is calling out the Norwegians. And speaking of those Norwegians, we've got some interesting news that might play out significantly for both of these athletes. Then we're taking a look at the epic Super League race that happened on the weekends where Lionel Sanders captured all the headlines. And we've got Gwen Jorgensen, who's back on track after a 7-year hiatus. And finally, we're looking at 2 huge upcoming races, previewing them. And finally, we're looking at a wetsuit that claims to be next generation. As always, we've got 5 minutes on the clock that we would probably throw out the window. And let's get into it. Hey everyone, my name's Travis, and this is the Daily Tri. Every Tuesday, I'm trying to upload a news video where we round up the week's latest triathlon news and also the weekend's races. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in last week and made it the biggest episode I've ever put out. It's really encouraging and motivating to see so many people interested and as pumped up about triathlon as I am. So I want to keep making this bigger, and every time you guys put a comment down there, it just gets me so fired up to keep doing this, keep making it better. Okay, starting us off this week, we're going back to the PTO because last week we looked at how they made some big decisions that made us question what was going on. They reduced the number of athletes at their PTO tour events, as well as reducing the overall prize money. Not to mention, they're actually splitting up the ranking money now between the top 50 instead of the top 100. So I was really hoping to hear more about this, and lucky enough, we did. We got a couple of words from CEO Sam Renouf in a podcast with ProTri News, as well as some words from their chairman, Chris Kermode. And basically, to sum it up, they were saying that they want the PTO to be more sustainable and really focus on a 5-year plan. And speaking of this 5-year plan, it looks like we actually might get to see what that is as early as this summer, where they look to solidify where the PTO is going and what races we can look forward to. I personally think this is fantastic, as this year it was a little hard to plan around the PTO, and I couldn't imagine being a pro athlete and how that must have been. So now we can look forward to a schedule at some point, and we can possibly plan to go do some of these PTO races or go be spectators and cheer on the best racing the best. They seem to be really focusing on these top 20 or top 30 athletes because they want to create the best media coverage they can in order to sell it to broadcast networks. And I think this makes a lot of sense, kind of similar to Formula One, where there's only about 20 racers that they focus on. So it makes sense. Unfortunately, that means we won't get to see as many of our favorite athletes racing. And if it makes the sport of triathlon grow, I am all for it. Okay, moving on. Speaking about the PTO, as well as what we talked about last week, Jan Frodeno called out the Norwegians this week in a video, hoping that they would help him get a wildcard slot to the PTO races that he now wasn't qualified for.
But it's just struck me that for the first time in like 20 years, I need a wild card because it's become quite a hard thing to get into. Just wondering if you boys could put in a word for me, and also if you could please show up. I'd love to see you guys live. Love to see it. Gustav's legendary after party moves, Christian's legendary during party moves. See you boys.
Of course, this was all meant in jest, as there's no way the PTO wasn't going to let Jan race at his events, especially after making that big announcement last week. However, Christian did respond to the video, and it was quite humorous to say the least.
Relax, Jan. I think I know someone who knows someone who knows someone, so I will do a couple of phone calls and get you in, so see you in Ibiza.
I can't wait to see both of these guys race each other. And now it looks like Gustav Iden might be in the hunt to race as well, because Kristianblummenfelt is off the start list for WTS Abu Dhabi, and Gustav Iden is actually managed to make the start line there. Before, in last week's video, I talked about how he was on a wait list and It was going to put him behind in his schedule for qualifying for the Olympics, but now he made it to the start list for WTS Abu Dhabi, and he could potentially gather the points that he needs in order to race those PTO events. And Kristian, on the other hand, now that he's sick and won't be racing in Abu Dhabi, might actually fall a little bit behind. So the two might be a little closer in qualification points for the Olympics than originally thought already last week. So that's pretty big news for them, and hopefully that means we get to see Gustav, Kristian, and Jan race, which is what we were all hoping for. Again, this is just me speculating, but it could be the case. And moving away from the PTO and the Norwegians and Jan, like I'm always talking about, we're over to Super League's Arena Games that happened this weekend. And my, oh my, did I thoroughly enjoy watching this while doing an FTP bike test. It was insane. The women's race just pumped me up, and from there, watching Lionel destroy himself and hold up to what he said he was going to do and try and make himself vomit was phenomenal.
Saunders leading into the swim on the second stage.
He put on a show that all of us would have dreamed of, where he made it through the heats to the finals and finished in 6th place. There was also some epic performances there from Chase McQueen, and I think we have a new fan favorite in Jack Stanton-Stock, who managed to pull off a gutsy performance, putting it all on the line to make himself a name and to get himself on the podium in 3rd place. It was Henry Schumann, one of the athletes I say you've got to watch out for this year, who's making his comeback, who managed to snag 2nd place. Okay, from Super League, we're going over to New Zealand, where Gwen Jorgensen took place in a Continental Cup race, and she managed to take home 3rd place. Now, this is her first race for 7 years. She's just had another child, and she is well on her way back, gathering points to qualify for the Olympics. It's going to be an amazing storyline to watch throughout the year, and now that we know she's back, she can do it. It's going to be fantastic to see. She's got stiff competition, however, as USA Triathlon has a stacked roster of female athletes who are all gunning for those qualification spots. I say you've got to keep track of this story with me throughout the year. Okay, and then on to the upcoming races for this week, and we've got Ironman South Africa taking place, and it's actually the Ironman African Championship. What this means is there's usually a lot more prize money and also a couple extra Kona qualifying slots. On the men's and the women's side, nobody has qualified already, meaning everybody is going to be gunning for those 4 men and 4 female qualifying world champion spots. On the women's side, like we talked about last week, it's Laura Phillip against Benella Langridge, and it's going to be an epic showdown. Unfortunately, Ironman didn't release their broadcast schedule yet, so I highly doubt there's going to be a live broadcast. We'll just have to be glued to our phones following the Ironman tracker, and hopefully I can do a quick review video for you guys, hopefully on Monday next week, so stay tuned for that. And over on the men's side, it's going to be Alistair Brownlee headlining the show and taking on some really good names such as Leon Chevalier, Clement Mignon, Bradley Weiss, Matt Troutman, and Cameron Worth. He's always fun to watch, and I can't wait to see how he tries to catch up to Alistair on the bike. Big race, super stoked for it, but in my opinion, the race to watch, which you can watch, is WTS Abu Dhabi, available on Triathlon Live TV. This is the first race on the WTS calendar this year, and we're heading back to Abu Dhabi where we had the grand final, where Leo Berger stunned the world and took the victory and the world title. I did a video on that. It was truly incredible. And I think we're in for a showdown again here. We've got all the top names, minus Kristian on that start list, including Leo Berger, Hayden Wild, Alex Yee, Matt Hauser, and one that I think you should watch out for from the American side is Morgan Pearson, who happened to take 2nd place there when Leo Berger took the victory. So it's going to be an epic race on the men's side, and on the women's side, it has also got all the familiar names, minus Flora Duffy and Taylor Knibb. And lastly, we actually have Ironman New Zealand going on as well, which has a great start list for the men's race, including the likes of Braden Curry, Sebastian Kienle, Mike Phillips, and Jan van Berkel. But the headline there for me at that race is that Cameron Brown, the 50-year-old pro triathlete who's had a career for about 35 years, is finally retiring after this race. I think that's truly remarkable that he's been able to be a pro this long, and he is setting the bar high for other pro triathletes out there. And on the women's side, we've got Rebecca Clark, Hannah Berry, Els Visser, and Meredith Kessler going head to head. And finally, I'm going to leave you with some pretty exclusive news that DeBoer sent over to me, that they are finally releasing their Fjord 3.0 as of today. This wetsuit is supposed to be next generation, next level wetsuit that has been developed over the last 2 years with the helps of the likes of Olav Alexander Boo and the Norwegians. You'll also be seeing it on some other huge names, including Jan Frodeno, Paula Finley, and Daniel Backergaard, who all say they've basically truly been blown away by how fast this wetsuit really is. It sounds amazing. It sounds incredible for those athletes who will be wearing it this year. I personally would love to get my hands on this wetsuit, as it really does seem like an incredible leap forward in technology just from what I've read. They sent over to me a quick video of Sarah Perez Sala sporting this new Fjord 3.0, and let me know what you guys think down below. It does look pretty cool. Okay, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you enjoy the racing coming up this weekend, and come back on Monday and Tuesday next week for the next video if I don't get one posted sooner. I've got lots in the works that I just never quite get to, but life is settling down, and I hope to bring you consistent content every week. So take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye. Hoping. Okay. Hoping that they would help him get a wild card.